Quiet.
Everybody's here. Hey, everybody's here. It worked. Just in time, Leon.
You like to make an entrance.
Man, I was running.
Well, folks, welcome to episode
right now.
Welcome to episode 8 of the Due North Political Podcast. We've got Mike Bochenbacher, Ryan Schumacher, Leon Francis, and I'm Perry Schumacher. Guys, we start each show with the jobs of Rubio, right? That's where we go initially. The man's an always busy man. We've had a lot of talk about aliens in the last week. Some stuff was put out. So guess what? This is why Rubio can handle all these jobs, is because he's half alien.
I knew it.
You knew something was up.
I had a feeling.
We've got good subjects tonight, and I think the listeners and viewers are going to appreciate them. We're going to dive into a couple things, but our first segment is called the My 2 Cents segment, and here we get each one of your ideas or viewpoints on a certain subject. So let's dive in. I'm going to show this graph and then read what we're going to talk about. I want to put up this chart. It is incredibly shocking and sad. This shows the marriage rates from 1975 to 2025, both men and women. The question to each of you is, what is your reaction to this information? Then give me one reason on how we got here and one solution in how we reverse this depressing trend. We'll start with Leon. You're first. What's your first viewpoint of that chart, and then how do we get here, and how do we solve it?
My viewpoint is that is civilizational suicide wrapped in a rainbow flag and a Tinder swipe. That's my that is insane. I do have thoughts on this, and I speak about them often. As a matter of fact, I'd just start with feminism. That's where I'd start. I would start with the fact that our young women today, as opposed to back in the day, are more feminized now, and it's not a good thing. Our females today have this outlook on life where they don't need to get married. They don't need to have kids. They don't need to do anything that traditional societies across the board, across generations, have always known. We need women in order to have a future. You gotta have that. And what modern day feminists have said to them is, well, let that take a back seat to get getting a career, and if you don't want the kid, we can fix it for you, and your sex drive is just as out boisterous as a male, so just go out there and have fun. And as my grandma used to say, why buy a cow when you can get the milk for free? And now in this generation, I have seen something where the young men are getting back to basics, and the young women are getting further and further away. It's time for men to lead, and I have seen a resurgence in that. But it's also time to merge our cultures again. At one point, and you can see it if you look at it on a generational chart. You can see the diverging of the men versus the women in pretty much everything, in culture, in policy, in politics, everything. at one point, like back in 1975, they were more aligned and symbiotic. They wanted similar things. They thought similar things. Their religions were similar. Their morality was similar. Hey, you want to raise kids? How you want to do that? You have a similar mindset. Now it's diverged. It's like this now, and then you have young men coming back into the fold, and what we need is young women to come back into the fold. And that's my 2 cents on that.
We shouldn't have a problem now with men being able to get pregnant, though. So we should have a new bill to double our.
Dude, don't get me started. Don't get me started.
Mike, let's get your opinion, your 2 cents. How did we get here? What's your overall reaction, and what's the solution?
Well, as usual, I might have a little bit different take than Leon does, but I think our end game is probably the same. But I've actually given speeches on this subject, so I know it pretty well, and it's an extremely disturbing chart, and there's lots of ways to approach this, but I'm going to try to hit on just 2 main things. The first thing is that I think the reasoning behind this is there's been a 50-year push for women to enter into the workforce at much higher rates than what they did prior to 1975. And I'm not saying at all that women shouldn't work or shouldn't have careers, but the reality is that women and men both are prioritizing their careers over family at a much higher rate than what used to be back in the 70s. So, they're told the only way that they can succeed is to first you got to prioritize college, and then you prioritize getting a job, then you prioritize moving up in the company, and before you know it, they're all making $200,000 a year, but they forgot to get married and have kids along the way. So now they're in their 30s. What? Okay. So now they're in their 30s. They're past their prime childbearing years, and many of them are just getting started at that time, and they're having 1 or maybe 2 kids, or maybe not even having any kids. And back in the 70s, families were having an average of 3.5 kids per family. In my opinion, just my opinion, once again, though, I think they're prioritizing the wrong things here. And the other problem with this is that Americans are now only reproducing at a rate of 1.7 kids per couple. And you need to be at least 2.1 kids per couple to be above replacement rate. So, there's no way about it. This is going to result in population and decline. And, China is having this problem right now, big time. And you all remember for years and years and years, China had the one-child policy. And, they did this for 30 years, and they finally lifted it in, I believe it was 2015 or 2016, because they realized that this policy was resulting in, not near enough people to fill the jobs that they had available. And, I saw some charts here when I saw this question. So looking up some charts, and China's population is expected to decline by about 200 million people by the year 2050. And then by the year 2080, they're estimating it to drop about another 150 million, which that'll then put them below 1 billion people. And for China, this is going to be disastrous. But to get back to the marriage numbers, one thing that I think we can do is we really need to stop demonizing marriage and having children. There's absolutely nothing wrong with getting married and having kids at a younger age. Marriage and children, they're just not going to inhibit your future. Children are not a nuisance like so many people claim. And, you guys will probably all agree, but marriage and children is, that's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I'm assuming you're all going to agree. But my wife and I were still both able to have good careers, and we have 4 children. And I'm sure people are wondering, well, how the heck did they possibly have kids and still have careers? Well, we're living proof that you can do it. And, we had to pause a few things along the way, or maybe reprioritize a little bit here and there, but I don't think we could be happier than what we are. So I really just hope young people realize that they can do both and stop waiting, to get married so late in life and have kids. And I think overall they'd be happier, and studies have proven that. It's not just my opinion. That's my thoughts.
I push back just a little bit. Basically the entire first part of what you said was what I said, feminism. That's the problem. And another interesting fact that you brought up is that we are not having as many kids. Do you know why? It's because we're having women are having kids at a much older age, so you can't have as many. You can have more children and healthier children younger than you can when you get 35, 40, which is the age most people hit that successful stride. We got things kind of figured out. We got our careers kind of locked down and we're moving up. We're making moves. But for a woman to be able to do that, and this is where I'd push back. Um, you don't want to put it out there for women. Hey, go and try to get that career. Go to that college so you can use it as a stepping stone for X, Y, and Z. What I would suggest is if you want to have kids and you want to help this whole population thing and you want to find a good husband, and 2 seconds on this, I would agree with you that having children is the impetus for doing well in life. But and I'm going to get guff for this, but that's a masculine thing because God put that in us to chase down that beautiful woman, trick her into looking at you like you're God's gift to her, and then you go out and with your bare hands you build a life, and then the more lives that you create, the more responsibilities you have on your shoulder, and it is the impetus for you to get up and broaden those shoulders, to do more in life. And then she is taking care of your legacy, she's taking care of your progeny, she's taking care of the future of this country the way God intended. Now, after that, if she wants to get into a career, and I know many women that did it exactly this way, that's fine. But our roles are set by our creator and by nature. We are the hunter gatherers. We are the providers. And we do all that hunting and gathering and providing, not for us, but for them.
I will chip this in. In Mike's case, it was a miracle. Yes.
100%. I mean,
Hey, I'm living proof miracles are real.
Ryan, let's get your 2 cents on this you look at this, I'll show this again. Look at this.
it's shocking.
2005, it was still half.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Good
So
God.
it's a recent phenomenon that this thing is just cratering, right?
Yeah.
I agree with what both Mike and Leon said. But I don't find this graph surprising based on where things seem to be going in this country. With each new generation, they've become more and more reliant on their parents for support. You have kids living with their parents until they're 30. So how do you expect to get married? You're on your parents' insurance till you're 26. Those weren't luxuries we were afforded 30 or that were afforded 30, 40 years ago, even when we were that age. You were expected to go out there and make it on your own and start a family and be self-sufficient. I've got a niece that's in this age bracket, and when she talks about meeting guys, she complains that a lot of them have tendencies of being weak and feminine men, and that's not what she's looking for. But that's today's men.
Good gal. Good for her.
And I think one of the reasons we've got where we are today is just because of social media. A lot of these people included in this under 30 age bracket were teens here in the past 15 years when social media first began to explode. And so a lot of them live on their phones or computers without socializing in the more traditional ways. Eventually, mainly the younger people are going to have to realize that social media in large quantities is not healthy if they want to continue on. So I think we have to get it back out there and socialize in the real world.
I'll tell you this. I like my first couple of interactions with the fairer sex, I got slapped in the face. And my response to that was, she touched me. Oh, they don't, men now, they're afraid now. Like everything's through a filter. Everything's through the phone or the computer and every. You got to get out there, man. You don't grow a beard like this without getting slapped a couple of times. So
I was gonna say you were like the Dumb and Dumber movie. So you're saying I've got a chance.
got a chance.
Leon, did you not have
But
your
that-
safe space to duck into, or what?
What's that?
Did you not have your safe space to duck into when you got slapped?
Oh, that wasn't even a concept back in my day, man. Don't let the beard fool you. There's a lot of gray in here.
Ryan kind of stole my thunder. I think the correlation there is social media and the phone, right? 2005, it just kind of craters and people are looking down at their phone. You can't, heck, you go out to eat right now, right? And everybody's in their phone. They're not having conversations. They didn't meet people. You don't meet people the same way we did either. Right now it's dating apps. You swipe right or you swipe left. It's that shallow. You know what I mean? And there's just no conversation had. And then you go back to our sisters, our niece. You know, somehow we raised a bunch of mama babies, and then we did something different with daughters. Right? We've turned daughters into. I don't know if it's because abortion is everybody's religion now. You know what I mean? And you scream your abortion. You now have abortion buses driving around Democrat conventions. I mean, you know, like Leon says, there's a separation, and you're looking for somebody to have something in common with, and you're a conservative man, and now you've got this gal that you're interested in, and she's not even in the same stratosphere as you. You know what I mean? I mean, look at the voting patterns. Everything is just so wide, and I don't know. I think it just 2005 that's got to be about the time the phone thing went crazy, right? Or maybe was it even before then?
A little
I-
after that, but right around that. I mean, between 5 and 15, but that's where it cratered, like you said.
Wait
No,
until this AI thing takes off, and you can have a virtual girlfriend.
Yeah.
Hey,
Forget about it. I mean,
Forget about it. Yeah. It's just incredibly sad. And I don't know, we have to get back to educating our kids. Like Mike said, there is nothing better than your children. And then I'll tell you, as a 62-year-old, I did not know the magic, but grandchildren are something else. I mean, that's a whole nother world that you're just like, I didn't know I could be this happy. When you're around grandchildren, you thought your kids you looked at your parents like, why are they so into my kids? And just get, my dad would never treat me this way. I mean, why? You know what I mean? And once you're a grandparent, you just go, holy cow, why doesn't this last forever?
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
I do that with my kids. Like, we got the 8-year-old now, so we caught a little reprieve. But all my kids are older. I have 3 older kids, and Eli is like I know that feeling exactly. Like I see him growing up, and I'm like, man, he's gonna be big, and he's gonna want to get out of here. But the grandkids, I guess that's something I can look forward to. Yeah.
Oh, there's nothing more special. Just wait till you experience it. Okay, folks, we're going to move to segment 2. This is our fire away segment. This is going to be kind of interesting. So this takes me a while to set this up. Did you guys like solving riddles when you were younger? Remember riddle books? You could even buy books that were full of riddles. Back in my day, anyhow.
Yep.
Tonight, I want to go and ask specific questions on an unsolvable riddle. The American voter. Last week, Ken Paxton walloped longtime Texas Senator John Cornyn in a runoff. It is often said that President Trump plays 4D chess. Well, he doesn't, but Paxton sure did. Remember, him and Cornyn won the primary, and Trump asked one of them to drop out so that the focus could be put on defeating the Democrat Tallarico rather than spending money going up against each other. And a lot of money was spent. It was at that time that Paxton checkmated Cornyn. Paxton said he would drop out if Cornyn would get the SAVE Act passed through the Senate. Of course, it didn't passed the Senate, it still sits on Thune's desk. While the SAVE Act remains stalled, and Trump finally endorsed Paxton a few days before the runoff. Paxton blew Cornyn's doors off a couple weeks ago in Texas. Now the riddle questions. Mike, was it Trump's endorsement that did the trick? Or did Trump know he was going to dominate, so that is why he endorsed Paxton in the first place?
Well, I think it was obviously Trump's endorsement that made the difference. And if you remember back in March, Cornyn actually beat Paxton by 1%. And now in the runoff, Paxton won by a little over 27 or 28%, I believe is what it was. So you're talking nearly a 30% swing in just over 2 months. And the only difference is that Trump endorsed him. But I guess I don't think Trump knew ahead of time that Paxton was going to perform as well as he did. Cornyn spent over $100 million to beat Paxton, and I believe it was like 9-1 or 10-1 he outspent him, and then he got absolutely spanked. So here's one thing I like about that: it proves that money doesn't buy seats, and it's messaging that actually gets someone elected. But Paxton's proposal, like you mentioned, to drop out of the Pass the Save America Act, that was probably one of the best political moves I've ever seen in the 30 years I've been following politics. But I really think Cornyn knew right then and there that he was toast. And, I looked up some polls prior to May 1st, and, Cornyn and Paxton were running neck and neck. But since then, and since Trump's endorsement, Paxton took some single-digit leads in most polls, but nobody had Paxton winning by anywhere, close to 27, 28%. So that's why I think, Trump's endorsement probably didn't give him the win. I think Paxton probably would have squeaked it out, but, it certainly moved the needle in Paxton's favor and resulted in a, nearly a 30% swing. So that's my thoughts.
You guys agree with that?
Yeah, I think
yeah.
it would have been close, much closer had Trump not given the endorsement.
I just had a little suspicion because he only endorsed him like 4 or 5 days beforehand. You know what I mean? Kind of the weekend before. So I was like, did Trump have some inside information? And he likes to always pick winners, and I'll get to that in a second. Sometimes he likes to pick winners. Ryan, you get the next riddle. When an incumbent senator in a leadership position loses, it is an earthquake in D.C. When you get your doors blown off and you combine it with Massey and Cassidy also losing bigly, are we seeing a bellwether that may sweep the country, that maybe a few incumbents are now in trouble and it's not going to be this constant 98% of incumbents winning?
I think it's definitely a bellwether in the primaries. I don't know that it'll pass or hold over to the general election, especially to get Democrats out. But I think this has to do more with Republicans and Republican voters getting tired of the same people representing them over and over. Trump has brought issues to the forefront that matter to the average American conservative: election integrity, controlled borders, energy independence. And the voters learned from Trump that it's possible to lead from a position of strength and not back down, where a lot of these Republican incumbents are weak and just not strong-willed. We're seeing in the primaries where these voters are tired of people being there 10, 20, 30 years without getting anything accomplished. And so we have to get those people out in order to find someone that will fight for the average American and conservatives. Paxton might have some baggage with him, but at least people know he'll fight for them, and compared to what Cornyn has done over the last 25 years. So I'm just not sure that will translate to the general election, but we'll see how things go.
I think Paxton had a history of the Attorney General of Texas that's a big job. It's one of the most important jobs in the country, because when Democrats in charge, states like Texas lead the way in pushing back and not allowing government to expand so much. So Paxson had a history of, whether it was in COVID or other things, he was pushing back on the federal government during the Biden administration. I think the people really appreciated that. Do you guys agree?
Oh, 100%. He's been under fire for quite some time by the Biden administration. I believe he only won that fight here recently, if I can remember that correctly. And I remember seeing him on, I think, Sarah Gonzalez's show, and he was fighting the federal government. People like that. They like a fighter, you know?
Ryan brought up his checkered past a little bit, but don't you guys think that ship has sailed a little bit? I mean, you know, Republicans just aren't going to hold themselves back and letting the Democrats put every type of person in there, transsexual. It doesn't matter. We're done with expecting. I even made the comment a couple of weeks ago. I'm not going to take lectures on morals from politicians in DC. That just isn't going to work anymore. You're just not either side, you know,
Democrats
or Republican pontificators.
Democrats have no more. Oh, go ahead, Leah.
Who was that governor down, I think in Georgia, who got caught with male hookers and crack cocaine? And
Oh, that was a Florida guy that ran against DeSantis, and DeSantis only beat him by 16,000 votes. They found him the next day with cocaine on his butt, passed out in a hotel room. DeSantis only beat him by 16,000 votes.
think about
That's why we got.
The next time he
That's why we got
destroyed
into
him.
early voting.
But yeah, I mean, we don't know.
I was going to say the Democrats have no more moral high ground when they're championing Plantner in Maine. I mean,
Yeah,
exactly. I've got a Nazi tattoo for 15 years, but I didn't know what it was for 15 years. So, I mean,
yeah, but in Texas, the choice is Paxton and Tallarico. There's no way Texans are going to say, well, I don't like a little bit of what Paxton did several years ago, and he was accused and acquitted. You know, I'm not. I mean, they're not going to go out and vote for Tallarico because of that. I guarantee it.
the
and
media.
Tallarico said it's a war against the tops and the bottom.
That's not going to bode well, right?
The media,
Nope.
the media were all over Beto O'Rourke too, and thought he had a chance in Texas a few years back, and so Tallarico's got even less of a chance than Beto did.
Right. Agreed.
If Paxton loses to Tallarico, the country's over, because if Texas loses its mind, then all else is lost.
100%.
Don't mess with Texas means something. Leon, we got one riddle for you left. If you agree that Paxton agreeing to drop out if the SAVE Act is passed was political brilliance, and Mike thought it was, let me deepen the riddle. There was another important race in Texas 2 Tuesdays ago for Attorney General, where Congressman Chip Roy lost. Chip Roy and Mike Lee are the main sponsors of the SAVE Act. We've come full circle now. So Leon, Paxton yes, but Roy no. Explain Texas logic.
Now, so I am a Chip Roy fan, huge
Me too.
Chip Roy fan, but I understood this. The MAGA persona carries so much weight, and then when you throw a ton of money behind that early, and you get out ahead of that, and then you paint Chip Roy as wishy-washy on all things MAGA, it was like a perfect storm. And so he funded his own campaign to the tune of, I think, $17 to $20 million. He's big into the oil and gas down there. He had Ken Paxton, Dan Patrick. They all aligned forces and they endorsed him. Those are big East Texas names. Big East Texas GOP leaders all came down for him. And then there's something else to be said about like our Congress. I remember this, and it just came to me actually. Steve Deace, I think it was 2 days ago, he said something to the effect of I've told you from the beginning. I don't believe congressman, whatever the congressman over there. Well, the point he made was people are fed up with Congress, and Congress's support is in the tank, and so that's a strike against you. And then when Mays comes in, and he brands himself as MAGA Mays, and then he throws that loyalty litmus test there. It was that's the soul of the strategy. He made the race a referendum on unapologetic Trump alignment. He hammered Chip Roy on every pass break that he had. Like, I remember Chip Roy saying things about January 6th.
Yeah.
Chip Roy was early on the DeSantis bandwagon. Anything that smelled like not being all in with Trump, this guy capitalized on it big time. All of his ads screamed it all over Texas. Roy fought Trump's at time. I saw that, and what this guy said is, I'm fighting with Trump, shoulder to shoulder, MAGA. He puts that mantle on, and he wins. So it was like, I was disappointed because I am a fan of Chip Roy. I think he's a fighter, but I think you had that perfect storm of money and branding, and then I think Chip Roy thought he had a stronger position than he did, and then Dan Patrick and Paxton jumps in there. Game over. Game over.
The part that was disappointing to me was Roy was he's one of the leaders of this anti-Islamist stuff in Texas too, because we've got Muslim mosques showing up all over Texas. They've got communities that are being put up that are supposed to be entirely Muslim. And
Yep.
Roy was pushing back on that. And I think they even have a referendum on their ballot to outlaw Sharia law in the state. It's such a concern for Texas that Roy was championing that. So it was kind of disappointing to me too, but at least he took it like a man and you know what I mean? And fought a good race. But again, championing the SAVE Act, and the guy that champions the SAVE Act, it works for one guy, not the other. Anybody else got any comments?
I think Leon nailed it.
Guys, I want to show you one thing since you brought up Tallarico. I had to pull this picture up. Look at this.
Maybe.
Don't they look alike? Don't
That's
they
a
look like
stunning-
brothers?
Yep. That's a stunning doppelganger right there. My God.
I saw that and I'm like, they look like. Remember that magazine?
Mad
Ryan,
Magazine.
Ryan, are you too young to remember Mad Magazine?
A little bit. I remember it, but
And then Spy versus Spy.
Yep.
That was good stuff, right?
I know that my dad got mad at me when he found Mad magazines in the house. Oh my God. He just thought it was the devil.
Did you have to? I was trying to think the other day when I saw that picture. You bought those at the store, right? It wasn't something you subscribed to.
Bought it at the store.
I mean, it wasn't like Sports Illustrated that showed up in your mailbox. You had to
And
buy
you
it.
had to be 18 to buy it too, I believe. Because they got kind of raunchy.
And then what? Spy versus Spy was part of the magazine, right?
Yep.
Okay, my memory's fine then. Okay, now we've got those were good days. Hot seat spotlight. We're gonna bring in our guest, Russ Hansen of Bismarck. Hang on, let me get him. Where are you? There he is. Here we go. Welcome to the Due North Political Podcast, Russ.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate the invite.
Mike, you want to give him a little introduction?
Yep, and like Perry said, today we have Russ Hansen from Bismarck with us, and I've known Russ for a long time, and he's currently running for the Bismarck Park Board, and we wanted to bring him on the show to speak to the importance of primary elections And with that, Russ, why don't you just go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Again, thank you all for inviting me, and it's really good to be with you. And this is a really good and timely discussion with early voting in person starting at noon tomorrow, and then going through obviously the in-person voting on June 9th. My name is Russ Hansen.
Oh no!
Oh no, do we lose him?
Maybe he's back. There he is. Go
Okay,
get
there we go.
What the
I was
heck?
about, I was about to sing show tunes, man. Don't ever scare me like that again.
That's there's a thing in the world called Russ luck. That was just it. The Hansen hack. Anyways, just briefly, my name is Russ Hansen. The question was raised before we went on the air, am I a Bismarck native? I consider myself so. I've lived almost 2/3 of my life here. I moved here right out of college in 1989, and this has been a place called home ever since. I've always loved Bismarck. I'm a Class B kid. I'm from Larimore, just a Class B town west of Grand Forks. Went to UND. Moved here, and my entire professional career has been here. And this is just a wonderful community, and I'm in a place in my life and my career where I believe I have the opportunity and some things to offer to give a little back. And the park board has always been near and dear to my heart, and I've thrown my name on the ballot to be considered for one of the seats that's open here on June 9th.
Mike, Russ, we'll start with some questions. Mike, I'm going to go first. Is that all right?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Many people don't pay attention to the legislature, the school board, the park board, the city commission. These races are just as important as everything else, Russ. Can you tell us why the park board election is important to not only to Bismarck, but they're happening all over the state? Like you said, next Tuesday is primary day, and these races are happening all over cities across North Dakota. Why are they important?
Well, thanks for the question, and a two-phase question, and I'll address the second part of it first, and go to the first part. Why do voters need to research the candidates before voting? Simply to find out who they are, why they're running, do they have an agenda, what do they want to accomplish, what is their philosophy, and do they align with yours? And to get to know them, to go and be an informed voter, and to make a decision that aligns with how you as a voter believe and will most be reflective of your opinion. Also, try to ascertain, is that person running for any of these local elections? And you're right, Perry, they are all very important. And all, the cliche, all politics are local, became so known for hundreds of years because it's true. It is all local. But to know if they'll be responsive, will he or she listen to what you have to say? Because I'm running for the park board, and it's not my park board; it's a citizen of Bismarck's park board. So I want to hear what those people have to say. So for all of those reasons, I think it's super important to do those things prior to voting. Why is this park board election important? To me, thriving communities are a must in today's society. And Bismarck is a thriving community. And people have choices to live anywhere, and they need good places to work, which our community has. They need good places to live, which our community has. They need to have good schools, which our community has. And families, regardless of age or size, need things to do. And the Bismarck Park Board, or any park board in the community, is an important part of that multi-leg stool. And I believe my background and my experience will bring elements to add to a really good park system, and hopefully improve upon it.
Ryan, do you have a question for Russ?
Yeah, it seems recently or in the past 25 years that primary voters usually only make up a fraction of the total electorate or even those voters that vote in the general elections. What do you think needs to happen for the voters to realize the importance of these primary elections and to encourage them to get out there and vote at higher numbers like they do in the general elections?
You know, that's a really good question, and thanks for asking it. And quite candidly, if I had the secret sauce of the answer to that question, I would patent it and I would sell it. Number one is that difference in the November general election and a primary election percentage is truly disappointing. When you think of the privilege we have in this state, in this country, to elect a representative government at the local, state, and participate in our national representatives, I mean, that is a privilege that people in many other countries would just clamor to have. And here we have it, and 80% of the eligible voters sometimes in a primary election don't vote. So that's really disappointed. But to your question, how do we get people more interested? And I think it's educational. I think we need to really hone home that this June in our community and many other communities, there's going to be a mayor selected for the next 4 years. There's going to be a couple city commissioners elected for the next 4 years. There's going to be 3 park board representatives, and I believe 2 or 3 school board members. So those are all elections and decisions that are made final on June 9th. And those are important because those various political subdivisions make very important decisions that affect our communities. I mean, legislators, they've heard, the property tax issue, Well, the fact of the matter, local political subdivisions, they assess it. They tax it and they collect it. And if you want to have an opinion and have an input on the person who is making those decisions, however your views are, that is done at the local level. So somehow, some way, we need to have that more clear to the importance of those things that are, just as important as voting in a presidential or a gubernatorial when they're on the ballots in November. So those are some ideas. I don't have the exact answer. I do have a thought. In the 1970s and the 1980s, our primary election was in September, as opposed to now in June. And once Labor Day hits or Memorial Day hits, we're in vacation mode, and schools are out, and people are traveling, and maybe there would be a little bit higher percentage if it was back in September again, and people are more into a daily routine with school and things like that. But that's a legislative decision that is set by our legislator. But that's just a little input and a thought I had, and no huge science before it, but I do appreciate the question.
Russ,
I want to thank you, Russ. First of all, I want to thank Russ for pointing it out that it is the local subdivisions that collect and assess property taxes and not the legislature. So I get asked that all the time. So thanks for pointing that out.
Even President Trump has a tough time in off-year elections. So maybe every town just needs somebody with orange skin and bad hair on the ballot every election to get people to show up. Leon, what's your question? Mike, you don't have any hair, so you're out.
Yeah, I guess I'm out.
Your skin's not orange.
No, I can work on that though.
Leon, let's hear your question for Russ.
Well, there's this topic. Nobody's really talking about it at all. Like it's way out in the weeds, that sort of thing. But I'm kidding. Property taxes, not so small a topic, continues to be a big hot button topic today. What do you think that the Bismarck Park Board can do to do their part to address that hot button topic? Property tax.
So, well, thanks, Leon. And I do I do agree, the hot button, as Mike knows, I'm at the legislature every day, all day, and this will be my 20th legislative session in 2027 of doing that. And whether it's in that role or just being a citizen in any community, you got to be sleeping under a rock if you didn't know property taxes are a hot button issue. What can the Bismarck Park Board do to do their part? And I think they already are, in my opinion, and in my research and in my observation, and that, when you get your property tax bill each year and you take a look at it, 14% of that total property tax bill goes to the Bismarck Park Board. So it's I think about the third biggest. The Park Board has a little bit of a unique opportunity to given your question to address that issue and the property tax, and that many of the offerings are funded obviously by property tax, but also by user fees, and I think there's a delicate balance in threading the needle in balancing the property taxation decisions that a governing body will make and what the appropriate user fees are for the various activities that are offered. And I think my background in association management, 35 years I've worked for boards and associations and dealt with budgets that are dealing with other people's money, and this is no different. And I think that that delicate balance is something that I could offer, and I think in doing that, you gotta listen to the people. You gotta prioritize what their wants are and what the needs are, and prioritize the balance between that and fund them as your constituents want or will be willing to pay for. In mentioning the user fees, I think I mentioned the threading the needle. I mean, we need to balance the fact that those are part of the equation, but these are public facilities, so you don't want to have fees that get to a point where cost impedes a family or somebody from participating. So I think those are all some things that I hope address your question and are part of the equation.
Russ, were you familiar with what happened in Fargo last summer? There was a big uproar over hikes at the pools. And also, as a golfer, I can tell you there was a significant hike at the golf course for passes and things like that. Did you catch wind of that in Bismarck? The uproar that happened in Fargo?
I did, and also as my day job, I'm the executive director of the executive vice president, Associated General Contractors in North Dakota. It's a statewide trade association of commercial construction. So we get a pulse of what's going on in all of the communities, and absolutely did. And that also rings true of why we got to keep a pulse if I'm lucky enough to be selected to keep those things in mind. So that's a really good point to bring up, Perry.
Leon, you kind of live out here. I don't know if it was just that initial sticker shock, but I don't see the uproar this year that we saw last year. It might have just been such a drastic increase that caused people's reaction, right?
It was major sticker shock, and I'm a little further west than you. I don't live in Fargo anymore, so but when I read I forget how much it was, but it was significant, and people were like, and the folks that live around there and go to that pool, they're not millionaires.
No.
So something like that was a big deal. Big deal.
So it's nice to hear, Russ, that you're conscious of that and that it does affect families. It is a big deal, user fees.
But it is, and it's absolutely something we need to take a look at. We got to find the right mix, and I'm confident that I can do that if I'm lucky enough to be elected.
Mike, you have a question for Russ?
I sure do. So, as everyone knows, park board candidates don't run, with an R or a D behind their name. They all run nonpartisan. And I'm just curious, do you think that this is a good thing or a bad thing? And do you think maybe North Dakota should maybe start requiring candidates for municipal elections to run partisan, or do you think we should keep it the way it is?
I'll be completely candid. I think the way it is good, and I'll tell you why. And it goes kind of back to my previous answer to the question about why is research important. I think it sparks the need to do that research, to find out what those candidates for these local offices are all about and ask those questions, and to help solidify your decision when you are voting on all those municipal elections. I will say, and Mike, as a sitting legislature, this is a legislative decision, and there have been proposals in the past to change that and to make it partisan. So if there's people that do have an opinion, one way or the other, talk to your local legislator, because it's going to take a change in state law to do that. So if that is something that you think should happen, talk to your local legislator and see if he or she agrees, and have that discussion again. It's been a few sessions since we've had that, but I think it helps to have people find out more, do the research, and maybe be more likely to vote than not. And that's just, I guess, my view on that. So many people, they do take a look at an initial, and whether it be an R or a D, and they're going to vote for those candidates. And I think with the local elections, it takes the effort to do that research, and by a few basic questions, you're going to find out where people stand and where their beliefs are, and if they align with yours. And I think that's a good thing.
Russ, had that been a requirement, would have that changed your mind about running?
Oh no, I was running for park board. When I moved here in 1989, I was 23 years old. I didn't know a single person in town, and the job that I had was to represent two retiree organizations. So I wasn't around anybody in my own life or my own age group, and it was through the Parks and Rec system where I got to know people my age through the basketball leagues, the volleyball leagues, the golf course, the things like that. And so that's always been near and dear to me. And then the fact of my previous comment about it being important to people and thriving communities, and the timing of my life all made a difference. But no, this is something that I've been thinking about for a long time. And anybody who knows me knows that I'm a very active person, and I'm on those trails. And if you know me, I like to golf.
Yep.
Right, so Russ, do you have a good golf game then, or?
It should be a lot better, Perry. It's okay, but for as much as I play, some people say, "Why are you still kind of average?"
I hear that.
So Russ, why don't you go ahead and just take a couple minutes, tell us how your campaign is going, how many seats are open for the park board, how many candidates are running, and tell us what's the response been. Then take another minute or so and let the viewers know what are your priorities if you are elected next week.
Yeah, thanks. And again, thanks for having me on this podcast. I love people, which is very good thing for things like this. The response to your question of the people has been fantastic. I hope they're all telling me the truth, because the reinforcement, the encouragement has been absolutely tremendous. I was at a stoplight on Centennial Avenue the other day, and there was a car to my left. I was in the right lane, and they were waving at me, and I thought, what did I do? Did I incite road rage? And they're telling me to roll down my window, and I did. And they're like, "You're Russ Hansen." I'm like, "Yeah." And we're voting for you. And that was pretty cool. I ran into a couple on the trail, the path around Tom O'Leary the other day, and they recognized me, and they both said, "Hey, you have our vote." So it's been tremendous. I've had a ton of fun with it. I love people. I'm an extrovert. I like to interact with people, hear what they have to say. So that has been absolutely fantastic. There are Bismarck Park Board has 5 seats. 3 of them are up this time. There are 4 candidates running for those 3 seats, and that decision will be made on June 9th. Throughout this campaign and should I be elected, my priorities are threefold. Bismarck has an excellent park system. Nothing is broken. It is the only park system in North Dakota that is nationally accredited by the National Parks and Recreation Association, and that's something they take great pride in, and they should. And so that's very good. So I want to maintain and improve maintain what we currently have, and use my experience and my consensus building and my people skills to hopefully improve upon it. Take the next step up and be part of that discussion and part of those deals. I think we need to build strategic partnerships. The political subdivisions need to talk to each other more often. They need to coalesce when it's appropriate and do that. And I've always been a consensus builder. Mike, you've been around me at the Capitol, and that it doesn't matter who gets the credit if you get the right outcome. Just work together, have your discussions, disagree agreeably, try to get a good product. And I think by building those strategic partnerships and my capabilities in doing that, I think would be an asset. So that's a priority. And we talked about property taxes and the fact of the matter that the legislators are getting hammered on property tax rates, even though those are local decisions. Well, to that end, the legislature took action and provided significant property tax relief back to the locals to the tune of up to $1,600 a household for your residential property. And and with that, put on local spending caps of no more than 3%. I don't think those caps are going to go away for a while. So I think in doing that, you need to leverage other funding opportunities. You need to look outside the box. You need to leverage grants. The Bismarck Park District is good at is applying and receiving grants. You need to find alternative funding, true public-private partnerships, and do those things to be good stewards of the taxpayer dollars, but yet provide the services that the citizens demand for these type of activities. So those are the three priorities that, if elected, I would bring to the table, and I would try to do every single day.
Russ, I have one. It's not necessarily a campaign question, but I'm from Bismarck originally, and I remember and it still goes on, the McQuaid softball tournament. Is that just off? Is that part of the park board's job, or is that a private thing, or how does that work?
That is a great question. And number one, with the sale of McQuaid's, I hope that continues.
Oh, sure,
it will
right,
happen
right.
Again this year. It's a little bit of both. There's been a group that has put that McQuaid's tournament on forever, and it runs like clockwork. It's literally the largest softball tournament in America. But all of those games are held at the ballparks that are Bismarck Park and Rec facilities. So there's heavy involvement. But the group, the McQuaid group that has done that, and it's, my God, if I had a hat on right now, I would take the hat and tip it to them, because that is a really big deal, nationally renowned. And boy, the economic both to the public to the economy here is huge.
Man, you think about all the thousands of people that have went through Bismarck and played in that tournament over the years. I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah. Russ, I was going to let you know.
It's just a really, really cool thing. That was a great question.
Yeah, Russ, I was going to let you know you will have a cap to tip your hat after the show is over. All of our guests do get a Due North podcast cap like what Perry is wearing. So I will personally deliver that to you here.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm a hat guy.
Good.
We have well, Russ, you want to hang on? We have what we call a looky here segment, where we bring to attention something we might have seen on social media. You don't have to comment, but if you have a comment, you're certainly willing to make it. Each of us brings a suggestion of things that people might have missed that we saw pass our social media, and that's how we kind of end our show. Guys, I'm gonna start with this one. I don't know whose it is, but based on the picture, one of you guys comment, okay?
Oh, that was mine.
Yep.
Okay, so maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't, but my looky here this week comes from the People's Republic of Texas. But there was a 16-year-old high school student named Marco Lopez who testified in front of Congress, and he was expressing concern that at least one of the middle schools in McMillan, Texas, provided a copy of the Quran to its students, but did not allow copies of the Bible to be available. Now, as disturbing as that is, the more disturbing part is that Congressman Jamie Raskin, who is from Maryland, he completely tried to embarrass this kid. And he was even getting belligerent with him. And, you know, one of the things that I've learned being an elected representative, and Russ, you know, he knows the legislature, he'll attest to this too, is that you can be a little tough on paid lobbyists. Okay? We've learned that. If you're going to be tough on someone, you can be tough on the paid lobbyists. But the average citizens, you know, you need to be very polite. You need to be thankful. You encourage them. You know, they're not there in a paid position. They're there for their own record or for their own personal reason or whatever. But, you know, many times, you know, these unpaid people, I mean, they're very nervous when they're up there testifying. And, you know, it's just common sense that you don't want to try and embarrass them or talk down to them. You know, you show the utmost respect to them. But the absolute cardinal sin is if a kid is testifying, you treat them with the absolute highest regards and you thank them profusely for, you know, speaking to us. You know, if any legislator in North Dakota talked to a 16-year-old kid the way that Jamie Raskin did in this hearing, I guarantee you they'd be sent to the principal's office immediately. I mean, it was just an absolute disgusting display of unprofessionalism on Raskin's part, and he seriously needs to be reprimanded for what he did. But you know, I'd say this, and this was probably my favorite part, is in my opinion, this kid just schooled Raskin during this hearing. He was well prepared, knew his stuff, and you know he wasn't having any part of Raskin's display that he put on. So I hope to see this kid in Congress someday. I mean, very intelligent. He's got a bright future.
Low rent Raskin. Ryan, here's your lookie here.
Can I comment on that?
Sure.
Yeah.
May I comment on that?
Sure.
Mike, you are spot on. I am paid to be an advocate for the construction industry. So with that, I'm a registered lobbyist. And when we bring people in or anybody comes as a citizen, a lot of times they are terrified,
Right.
and they're there on their own time and their own dime. So if a legislator does not like the position that somebody is bringing in as a volunteer, you give those hard questions and give the disdain to me. I'm paid to be there. So thank you for bringing that up. You are spot on with that.
That was
Well,
a great
thanks.
lookie. That was a great lookie here, Mike. Good job.
Good. Appreciate
Ryan, you're
that.
next.
This is one of another episode of As the Crazy Democrat Turns, and just how insane some of these policies, these democratic policies are. And if you vote for this, if you vote for Democrats, this is what you're voting for. Apparently this individual identified as female, a registered sex offender, and was in the female locker room at a Planet Fitness, and the female patron of Planet Fitness complained about it and asked that he be removed, and she had her membership canceled. So, as I said, another episode of As the Crazy Democrat Turns.
You will be made to agree. You will be made to agree. Leon, you're up next with your lookie here. Here we go.
So, Democrats declare war on cramps, 12 paid period days because America's real crisis is on flow. So, the circus is back in session. These three Democrat congresswomen, Yasmin, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, Dalita, and Rashida Tlaib, just dropped a bill giving women up to 12 paid days off a year for bad periods, because in 2026 we all know that the real crisis isn't the border or the debt or China, it's cramps. 15% of women, they say, and it's time for the feds to play heating pad with your tax dollars. And of course, Planned Parenthood is all in. These are the same geniuses who screamed men can have periods too. So which is it? Is it this real biological female thing requiring a special protected status, Or can Dylan Mulvaney clock in for his government-subsidized flow? Pick a lane, ladies. You're tying yourself in knots.
It's mental gymnastics. It's like the FM Acro team, man. They're doing flips and back flips and front flips and side flips all over the place. Guys, my lookie here. Remember, maybe 3 or 4 episodes ago, we were talking about how the left would celebrate America's 250th birthday. Remember, we had a whole segment on that. Our suggestions. Well, this past week, we're having the Great American State Fair. Starts June 25th. It's going to be on the Capitol grounds out in DC. And they had certain entertainers that were going to be entertaining. You know, every fair's got to have their musicians. Well, now they're canceling in droves because the left is not going to tolerate you to celebrate America's 250th birthday. Should you sign up to celebrate and perform, you're going to be made to care and you're going to be brought to heel. Martina McBride last week declined. The lead singer, forget what his name was, some band from the past. They're all declining. Everybody's dropping out. We talked about it months ago in jest, but it's coming to fruition. The left wants a funeral, not a birthday party. They want a funeral, not a birthday party, and it's pretty tragic. Now, his idea is he wants to speak and have a rally. We don't need that. We don't need a rally. It's America's birthday. Find some non-professional, some amateur musicians that are talented, American Idol type things, have them perform. There's plenty of talented people around the country. We don't need these has-beens. It was even kind of a Class B talent pool, but they are not going to be allowed to perform. The left is just not going to tolerate it. I can't wait to see all the demonstrations that happen on July 4th. They're going to show their true colors. They want a funeral.
Well, first of all, Perry, let's not knock Class B. Russ and I might get a little bit upset about that. but am I wrong? But Martina McBride, did she not perform for Obama? I mean, at one of Obama's events? I'm positive she did. So why is she avoiding this one?
Because we don't make them heel like that. They have a right to perform at Obama's or any Democrat party, you know, but they will not, because Trump is president. If Biden were president, she'd be performing, because we don't do things like that. We have class.
It's the same reason.
We just may not watch.
It's the same reason that you can be on stage with Obama, pontificate about Obama if you're an athlete, but now if you want to introduce Donald Trump, now there's a problem.
I watched those videos, like that kid. I think that was in New York, was it?
Yeah, Jackson Dart, the QB.
Yeah, and I watched them parade all of these African American guys out that are just all butthurt because he introduced Donald Trump. That is to me, that is a great honor. Like, I can't believe the hand wringing with Democrats. Anything that touches Trump, they vilify him. He's a bigot. He's like slapping grannies and kicking kittens downstairs. Like, it is TDS is a thing, and we need an ointment for that because we don't need it spreading. There's something wrong there.
Guys, I don't know if you know this, but there's no more liberal organization than sports writers. They do not. You cannot be conservative. You cannot be a conservative athlete. Look, you watch in hockey, all these American guys that won hockey that are on Canadian teams, they're going to leave the Canadian teams because of the grief they got. The sports writers of the world are flaming liberals. Now, because we need performers, I have a couple surprises. We got this guy, he could perform. Or we got these two guys, they could perform.
Oh, no. Billy.
Oh, wow.
And then I just want to end the show. This was Trump put this post on, the statue went up at Obama's presidential library, I guess, and so Trump posted this. Did you guys see this?
It looks similar to that actually. That's not too far off.
Isn't it the ugliest thing you've seen? That building? I mean, what an eyesore.
The building was designed in Soviet Russia.
Yeah, it looks like it's straight out of some post-apocalyptic America with a superpower. It's like the Eye of Sauron or something. You know, it just screams cold, man. It's
With the 250th birthday, I just want to bring one thing up. Isn't it nice? I mean, Burgum is kind of in charge of this, but they're repairing stuff around DC to make it look nice. I mean,
how many
can't
gallons?
we have nice things? Can't we have a reflecting pool that reflects with all our tax money? You can't make sure this stuff works for when people come to DC. A fountain might spray water instead of nothing. Oh, it used to work 25 years ago. I mean, seriously, isn't it nice that stuff is being spruced up a little bit? And maybe we can keep it that way.
That's what happens when you take pride in, you know,
Yeah.
like my mom used to say, hey, straighten up. We got company coming over. Get the good china out. Pull the plastic off the couch, because we want to put our best foot forward. The dishes that we never ate off of, never. We got plastic stuff. She's pulling out the china. She's pulling out the silverware. Our cutlery was all came in a plastic bag that you could pull open, and you know you couldn't cut your steak well with it. But when company came over, we pulled out the good stuff. And that's all. Trump has pride in America. Like, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. He wants a ballroom because, you know, you look at the ballroom we got now, it's garbage. And he's like, we're America. Like, we're the biggest dog on the block. We are the world leader. So when people come here, they should be in awe. And then they come here and they see this. Same thing with the reflecting pool. I mean, I saw the before and then the after. It's like night and day.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy to me. But Trump touched it, so they hate it.
Russ, we want to thank you for being on tonight. And Mike, why don't you let the folks know who's going to be with us 2 weeks from now the hot seat spotlight.
Sure thing. So that'd be June 16th. Our next guest is going to be North Dakota State Treasurer Thomas Beadle. He's going to come on the show and he's going to answer some questions about state investments, where they're spent, what returns they've been averaging, you know, and such like that. And we're really looking forward to having him on June 16th. And, you know, don't forget, everybody, next Tuesday, the 9th, is the primary election. For the love of God, get out there and vote. But like we said today, before you do your homework, know who you're voting for. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a teaser. You know, we're going to have a great next show, but we just booked a special guest for June 30th of the show. Mark that one on your calendar. I'm not going to tell you who it is yet, but we'll announce it at the end of our next show. So you're not going to want to miss that one. So June 16th, Thomas Beadle will be our next guest.
Folks, you know, we take our politics pretty seriously on this podcast, so make sure you vote in the June primary. I think early voting is starting today. It started in Fargo, but around the state, I believe it starts tomorrow, most of the places. So get out and vote. Do your civic duty. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.